Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Conejo Recreation and Park District Board of Directors to order. And I would ask if Rochelle Callis would lead us in the pledge, please.
Your heart, please. Ready? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And if we could have the roll call, please.
Director Huffer.
Yes.
Director Lang. Director Cussworth.
Yeah.
Director Nichols.
Yes.
Director Buss. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Item 3 on our agenda, we have special presentations from the Las Flores Community Garden. Hooray!
Are we on? Hello. Well, my voice usually carries all over the garden anyway, so here we are. I provided a packet for you, which is actually the presentation that I'm giving tonight, but also includes our financials, and that is fiscal year 2022. Okay, so we will not be going over that, but if you have any questions, please let me know. Again, it's such a pleasure to be here. We are so grateful for you, every one of you. And I want to go through what we did in 2022. Most of our work days start out like this. A group of people working on an amazing project. We have on the left, we have this was our office, which you provided the grant for. And we are, it's amazing. It's amazing. On the left, we have the guys who look through, and women that look through about 1,000 pieces to find out where everything goes. It was a kit. And my project manager, Jimmy, past president Jimmy, got a group together to go through all of these pieces and to designate where they go. On the right top picture is our cement crew. These are very special people that know how to do the foundation for all of our sheds. And it's heavy work, it's hard work. But the final project, it took about 25 people, 25 members to complete this. And there's our office. Isn't it gorgeous? Another grant from the city, we're working on the interior of it. And it's a small office, fits about, and can be used for classrooms, small classrooms in the winter when it's raining. And I think it's just amazing. In 2022, the 2021-22 grant was for the Giving Garden. The Giving Garden is an entire plot designated 100% for our neighbors in need. And last year, we produced over 1,000 pounds of fresh organic for our neighbors in need. Again, we could not have done it without you. And all of these are ongoing projects, and we're just so proud of this. We are so, isn't that beautiful cauliflower, by the way? We have been, every year, we get 2, 3, 4 requests for Eagle Scout projects. And we decide what they're going to do, and they come through and do it. And this year was no exclusion. Quinlan Sullivan built the butterfly house. The butterfly house, I think some of you saw last year on your tour. It houses milkweed and all of the, you can close the door, and all of the stages of the monarch butterfly is contained in there. So it's a huge educational opportunity for children and adults, because our monarch butterflies, as you know, are really threatened. And we hate to see a day when we no longer have that beauty amongst us. I was at the garden this morning because it is my serenity, it is my peace. And I think there were 20 monarchs just going around my head. I was a happy, happy person. This is our habitat, which is maintained. Everything is done by our members. We do not hire out, contract out anything. And the top one is our monarch. He's the most gorgeous of all. And then the yellow swallowtail. Our habitat is, we have four certifications, national certifications for what we provide. You have to provide certain plants, certain nectar, certain milkweeds, and we have it all. We have become this year Monarch Caterpillar Rescue. As you can see, and this is on the left, that is a small portion of our native milkweed. It's called narrow leaf milkweed. And this is a small sampling. We have it everywhere in the habitat and in the area around the habitat. And we are saving caterpillars. People are saying, I have 10 caterpillars, but my milkweed's all gone. Bring them to Las Flores Community Garden. We put it on social media, and so far we've had a few takers. I just had to put in the tarantula hawk on the right because the milkweed attracts everything, not just monarchs, it's bees and other butterflies and skippers and these. The tarantula hawk is an interesting little, well, not so little, it's a pretty big insect. It keeps the ecosystem of tarantulas down. It preys on tarantulas, and so we're not overrun by a billion tarantulas, only 200,000. So we are Caterpillar Rescue. If you know anybody that doesn't have milkweed, give me a call. Eagle Scout Alex Lee, he designed and built the Friendship / Memorial Garden. This was, the idea came from the Ventura dog area where people can leave a rock to remember their pets. And this turned out, they built everything, the cute little bird houses on each one of the posts, eye for detail. And this is a place to sit and reflect, to just be, to heal. Our members are our number one priority, and we have so much to be thankful for. I'm always amazed at these squash on the right. What do you do with that? I mean, oh, we make it into soup for 500. I mean, come on. But no, they are grown every year. We love to be involved in things. Last year, we actually held a series, and again, the squash, really? I don't even know how to grow that. We get involved in many things in the community. We are an outreach. We provide classes. We provide volunteer opportunities. You can come to our garden anytime, and of course, sign our waivers that you just want to work out. And a lot of people do that. They do. They just want some place to get dirty and sweaty. And, oh yeah, we got work for you to do. Come on over. We do have the best backdrops, and our sunsets are amazing at dusk. It's just a wonderful place to be. And I love it. Do you have any questions? Short but sweet and to the point.
Thank you so much, Director Lang.
Yes, thank you. As always, a great presentation. We always appreciate hearing of the many accomplishments that the community garden has.
Thank you.
And as you know, my days before the community garden, and to see what it is today is amazing.
It is amazing. Thank you, Director.
How many members do you have now, and how many on the waiting list?
That's a really good question. By the way, I want to introduce Betty is our plot manager. She leases out our plots and makes sure that our members follow our large amount of standing rules. Yeah, no kidding. She's great. Lori is our secretary, both around the board and both contribute tremendous things to our community garden. Right now, we have 157 plots that are leased out at $75 per year. We upped that in 2022 because we are nowhere near what other community gardens are. At any given time, we have 80 to 100 people on our wait list. And that's about, a long time to wait for a plot. Usually it's 2 to 3 years. But because some people have moved away, some people have decided this is just not for me anymore, or COVID brought in a lot of people that just afterwards just weren't interested. So it's 80 to 100 at all times. Yeah.
One last question. How's the orchard section doing?
The orchard section is doing great. I did not include it in this. We actually made a new policy where we're leasing out the trees. It is so good. 42 trees, and they were adopted in the past, and now you adapt just like our plots. We lease them out, and you get everything on there. You can share, and many will, but apparently we are sharing with the squirrels, rats, and mice this year, but it's fabulous. It wasn't expected to really do this great.
And the types of fruit or
Oh,
trees?
boy, I can't name it. It's there. Pluot. I'd never heard of pluot. It's a plum apricot. 3 apple trees, I think maybe 5 or 6 avocado, because who doesn't want avocados, right? Oranges, tangerines, mandarins, pomegranates, it just goes on and on. Mulberry, we have a line along the fence that's all berries, because you cannot grow berries in a plot. Like raspberries, they're pretty invasive, but they're controlled in the orchard. And so we have a lot.
Great. Again, thank you for all you do, and thank you for volunteering to make this very ongoing success. And
Thank you
keep
so
up the
much.
good work.
Anyone else?
Director Best?
Thank you so.
Oh,
Oh.
I think that was me. Sorry.
It's okay. Thank you so much for everything you do. Yeah, one of the first meetings I went to was actually a field trip that we went to
Last
3 years.
year.
Yeah, before I was elected. So question, the people who are renting the plots, where do they not have backyards that they want to plant in themselves, or is it more they come for the social? I'm just curious.
That is very much the case. Many are in condos, apartments. I do have space in my backyard, and I do garden at home also, but it's the community of gardeners. We educate, we receive education, we give education. We are just really a tight-knit group, and we solve problems, not necessarily with why isn't my green beans growing, but we solve a lot of problems in the gardening industry, and we get the word out there. We love teaching what we know. And yeah, that's just it.
That's awesome. And then have you ever considered getting an owl box?
We have 2 owl boxes.
Do you have owls in them?
We do. And this year, thanks to you, we're getting Starlink broadband satellite internet. That was this year's grant. And we're going to be able to put a camera in one of the owl boxes and live stream. We are so
how cool.
excited about this. One of the owl boxes is not used. The other one is used every year. And we have a special, we actually took a plot that somebody gave up and we decided not to lease out again. And make it a soft landing for our owlets because it's, 40 feet up in the air and those babies drop. They don't fly coming out of the box. And so we made a soft landing with lamb's ear and some soft plant materials for them to land. We didn't get any this year because the guys, the camera guys went up a little bit too early or a little bit too late. Mama was sitting up there. And she wasn't sitting on any eggs or anything, but she flew away and didn't come back this year. But we are ready next year. She comes back every year.
Oh, that's so cool. I love it.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're
Thank
welcome.
Director Cussworth.
This is really delightful. I see your garden all the time because I go up to Waverly Park every morning. So I
Yay.
always think of you and you have so many sunflowers this year. The sunflowers are amazing. It's beautiful. It's a nice way to wake up in the morning and you go down there and you see your garden with all those sunflowers.
It's happy.
It's a very
Makes
happy
people
place.
happy to walk by.
And the views, like you're saying, are incredible up there.
Yes.
I love those views.
I was looking, as I drove in today, again, I went for just some serenity and peace, and I love this. I do it often. And I was looking from the road. And it's a sight, even from the road. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful. Then I went inside, and it's just as beautiful inside. It really is. It is my heart, my passion.
That's lovely. I had a
Thank you.
couple of questions. I think you answered one. I was wondering if your office had Wi-Fi, but you said you do
It
have
will.
Wi-Fi. It will.
It
So
Yeah.
it's going to be, and then I was very interested in the distribution of the food. Who do you take the extra food to? How is that distributed?
They go, on Wednesdays, it goes to Westminster Clinic. And they are located, they take up space behind the United Methodist Church on Jance. And they get the majority of ours.
Oh, okay.
And then on Saturdays, one of our committee members takes it to a church that provides meals right there on Saturdays. And they're
Right.
all so grateful, so grateful.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, I'll think about that. I go on Fridays to Target and pick up food and take it to the Methodist Church.
On Wednesday,
Well, ours is on Friday, so maybe it's not yours then, because they always have a lot of produce. And so I wondered if that was where your produce was going to, but
Gee, I
maybe they
thought
just
she
take
wa-
it every day just from different people.
it's very possible she's going to yours on Friday. I always thought she was going on Saturdays, but we have it when we get excess, because in the giving garden, there's a big box for members to donate.
Okay.
And it can get full, especially with zucchini the size of a boat.
Yeah.
We always love those. Well, we didn't check it one day and the next day is huge, but that can be made into things. So I would like to check in on that.
No, I just think that's a wonderful thing. It
Thank
just
you.
shows what a nice community we have, that there's so much giving to help people that are less fortunate.
Absolutely.
So nobody should go hungry in this and have fresh
No one.
food.
No one
Yeah.
should. And to get fresh organic vegetables is almost unheard of. Some of the pantries don't allow perishables. And so we're very fortunate that Westminster has a setup and also them providing clinic, services.
Well, okay, I'm impressed with that. So thank you. Also, do you have school tours?
We do. Our vice president, Jan, she loves to do school tours, especially first, second, third, fourth grade. I do older. Lorena, they don't tour, they come over and do a massive, like 20, 30 seniors, because they have to do community hours. They come over and do an amazing amount of work. Any tour, anytime, let me know.
All right, well, that's just really nice to know, to get kids. So often kids don't really know where their food comes from. So
Oh,
it's
boy.
nice for them to see that. I think it's Adelante on Friday. I'm
Okay.
sorry to change. to
No,
do-
no,
that
that's
just thought
fine.
came
I'm
to
glad
me.
you
So
thought
you're with
on Wednesday.
Westminster on
Okay.
Wednesday, Adelante on Friday.
Okay.
I just have one other question. How do you find out about your classes? Do you have a website?
I put it in the Acorn. We have a website that all of the events are on. And I put out a newsletter that I send to, well, our members, I guess,
Yeah.
but they spread the word. But I did put it in the Acorn and I'm looking, and I opened up a, we put it on our social media. I opened up a next door
Oh, okay.
thing.
Well, it sounds like you're very well connected. Is your website in this packet?
Probably not.
How do I access your website? What is it called?
LasFlorestGarden.com.
Okay, great. All righty.
LasFlorestGarden.com. It
Thank
should be
you.
org, but somebody 23 years ago.
.com works just fine. So
It isn't a big thing anymore. It
Yeah.
used to be, but it isn't.
I thoroughly enjoyed your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Director Nichols?
Yes, thank you. I certainly enjoy what you're doing, but also your enthusiasm to do it is very engaging. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Seeing those little caterpillars to be monarchs and swallowtails just made me think, my grandkids would love to see that. I mean, do you allow like just people
Yes.
stop in to look? Because I know you've got a gate there. Is it usually locked and closed? You
It
need
is. And we
a
have
magic
had,
password.
right. I would give you the password anytime. Any of you can have our gate codes at any time. We do keep it locked simply because of security.
Mhm.
The garden, if you have a plot way at the back, you might not see somebody coming in. And we have had a few problems in that regard. And so we keep our gates locked most of the time. But anytime you want to bring anybody, I'm there almost every day. I just took a week off, so I'm feeling like, whoo, I needed to go this morning. And but I'd be willing, no problem. Just let me know and I'll be there, or Jan, our vice president, she loves to do the littles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And then
but
also,
I'm fine too.
okay. If we wanted to try and attract monarchs to our backyard, can we come to you and grab a milkweed plant, or how would
Oh,
somebody do
no,
that?
we don't let you dig up our milkweed. What I would do next year for, because you need to plant, I have seeds.
Oh,
Okay, I
okay,
have
okay.
tons of seeds. Where you have tons of milkweed, you have tons of seeds. And I just, today, that was part of my whole getting into the zone thing. I gathered seeds, so I can give you seeds and you would want to plant them in the ground in
Okay.
November and overwinter them, or you can put them in your refrigerator until next spring
Hmm.
and plant them then. You can plant them in pots in the ground, it doesn't matter. But no, we do not, because it took us 5 years. And I do believe that our milkweed population is bigger than pretty much anybody.
Hmm.
Other than open space,
right.
obviously, but we only will use native.
Well,
So
thank-
I'd be
thank you
happy
for
to
your
get some
efforts.
seeds to you.
Well, thank you. I just was trying to think, how, if somebody wanted to do this, say, hey, this is a great idea. Get more people to plant milkweed, how would that actually happen? So,
And many are.
obviously.
Actually, the reason why we have the habitat is 5-6 years ago, when we got the children's garden and the habitat. I offered a class through CRPD. And basically the habitat was built by 12, 9, 10, and 11-year-olds. I'm not kidding you. These kids, when the wheelbarrows, they were amazing. And so it was a 6-week class. And we taught about the monarch, and that's what I wanted, because I'm a retired educator. I want to get back into teaching. And I do through various classes, but I really want to target children. in the habitat.
Well, it doesn't sound like you're retired to me.
Well, someday.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just want to add my thanks for your presentation. I want to compliment your organization. You're such a great example of what volunteerism does in our community. I mean, we have dozens or hundreds of organizations, but the volunteers that you have working for the garden is just above and beyond. And I did also want to thank you. A couple months ago, my daughter and 2 grandkids were visiting, and
Yes.
you happened to be sitting around with a smile on your face, and you let them poke their heads in and see a little bit of the garden. So we did appreciate that.
It was fun.
A thought occurred to me. You said you have a long waiting list
Yeah.
of people who are waiting to get a plot. You said a lot of people who are currently using and probably on the waiting list are people with condos and apartments. They don't
Right.
have a backyard. Have you ever thought of offering an opportunity for those on the waiting list to maybe go someplace like my backyard where I have a lot of yard and
Sure.
I'm a terrible gardener. I would love to have someone poke
You
around in
wanna
my
offer that?
backyard. So,
Oh, I see. You want landscaping.
no, I've got room for,
You know,
4 years ago when my son was here, we had a nice garden and we got some fruit trees and I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities, but
kinda
I
like
kill
that.
artificial plants. So I mean, that's how bad I am. So.
An ad hoc Las Flores Community Garden. I really love it. I love the idea. I can put feelers out if anybody, you can come in my backyard anytime,
Mhm.
maybe. I would be ashamed of it, actually, no. But yeah,
Just a thought.
I think it's a great idea.
And the Adopt a
Great.
Backyard program.
Yeah.
The LFCG backyard program. Yikes, that might get me in trouble.
Yeah.
But
Anyway.
I love the energy. I love the thought because I'm gonna look into that. I am.
I'm trying to ignore, but I can't ignore Director Lang. So
Sorry about
30
that.
seconds maximum, George.
How many master gardeners do you have?
We have 5 master gardeners, our founder, Fady, and 4 others. I gave up my certification, but I'm still a master of gardening.
Mhm.
And I think we got 2 new coming in this year with the 2023 Master Garden class.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies, for being here. And as always, we always invite people who come early. You're welcome to stay for the entire meeting if you wish, but you don't feel under any obligation. So thank you all very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, item 4 on the agenda, items from the public. We don't have any cards. Is there anybody waiting online to speak? Okay, thank you very much. Item 5, approval of the agenda. We do have one change to the agenda item. So I will entertain a motion to make that change. We're eliminating agenda item 9A.
So moved.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Thank you very much. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Item 6, consent calendar. We have 3 items: approval of minutes from the July 20th meeting, approval of warrants, and proposed 2024 Board of Directors meeting schedule. I will entertain a motion to approve items 6A, B, and C. Director Lang,
So move.
thank you.
A, B, C, and D. Yep, A, B, C, and
I didn't see a D. All right, thank you very much.
Just
Can I
came
get a
out.
second? Director
Second.
Cusworth. Any questions or comments or concerns? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. No one against. Item 7, I don't believe we have any deferred matters. I don't believe we have any items for discussion. We have, in approving the agenda, we skipped past 9A, so we're going to go directly to item 9B, proposed updates to the CRPD 5-year strategic plan.
Yes, thank you, Chair Huffer, members of the board. On page 211 of your packet, we have the memo, the board staff report, as well as a red line strikeout version of the strategic plan. So if you'll recall, we met in both February and in March earlier this year to have a discussion about what priorities and what are we working on as a district, looking at the then existing strategic plan. And we did a little bit of SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, kind of talked about areas where we might need to put a little more energy into and that sort of thing. But we also did a little wordsmithing. And so I tried to capture and reflect those comments from the board and, provide the changes that you see in the strategic plan. I don't know that any one particular thing might be worth calling out. But just as you're looking through it again to refresh yourself, we do have our mission statement, and that generally doesn't change too much. But this year we are recommending that we slightly modify our mission statement to enrich the quality of life for our community by providing, conserving, and enhancing recreational opportunities, parks, and open space. So we added a word to the mission statement. No real change to the statement of philosophy. But then in the vision statement, we did add a couple bullet points, 3 actually bullet points. So this is a little probably more meaty. We are making sure that we let the public know and staff, and we focus on fostering welcoming public places for diverse communities, strive to conserve lands with natural resources, operate in a socially responsible manner, considering current and future generations in decision making, and that we wanted to add education to talking about sustainable practices. So probably that section saw a lot of additions to it. And then for the rest of the document, within the strategic elements themselves, there's just adding a thing here and there under facilities. We did want to make sure we all know that the building that we're sitting here, our lease runs out in 2027, and securing a place to call home after that's an important thing for us to be looking at in the next 5-year cycle. We are making sure that we call out that as we consider the very large events, and we do have a committee actually already working on this that needs to meet, we need to weigh disruption to our normal operations, facilities, and neighborhood impacts with the benefits to CRPD and the broader community. We completely eliminated 4.4.1 on 2018, and that's really because that had been an ongoing effort for many years, and we it finally resulted in the addition of the 4 additional rangers, which was great. So that's great. And in terms of calling specifics out, yeah, in terms of participating with outside organizations, we added the newly formed National Special Districts Coalition. So CSDA has been really good about starting to elevate awareness at the national level about special districts. So now there's a national organization focusing on special districts. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the years ahead. We are actually adding it to, and I'm kind of smiling because I know this was one of the first things Director Nichols mentioned when first elected, about live streaming our regular board meetings. So that is something we're kind of committing to sticking, not just because it was COVID and we went online, but that'll be a normal practice moving forward. And that's it for the meat, I think. Certainly available to answer any questions. And this would be the opportunity for the board to, if you've looked through it again, if there's anything, this would be the best opportunity to add anything or modify anything, because once you guys say this is good, we want this, we'll update not just the written material, but we'll add all sorts of new, we as in Rochelle's team, we'll add lots of new graphics and make it look like a very presentable strategic plan. So with that, I'm certainly available for questions.
Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions or comments? Nothing down on that side, nothing down on that. Director Lang.
Yeah, a little comment, when we first look at this on the agenda, items for discussion and so forth, and well, we've been through this many, many times. What more can we change or add to enhance it? And looking at the results of our two meetings, we did enhance it. We did make positive changes. So it's good to see that we're not stagnant, but we're active in making things better and making things more workable for the board and the district. So congratulations to everybody who participated in those meetings and contributed to the changes.
One question.
Yes.
This isn't specifically to our strategic plan, but didn't we talk about our general plan? What do we call the main one that needs to be updated? The master plan. Didn't we also have a meeting with our master plan, or did we just say we were going to work on that after the city finalized their master plan? Where does our master plan fit into this? Because it seemed like we discussed it.
Yeah, perfect. The master plan is, we've said, let's do it because it needs to be consistent with the city's general plan by law. So we need to have a master plan that's consistent with the general plan. The general plan is literally at the 11th and a half hour. I think final date for comments is September 15th is the last day for comments on the city's general plan document. The EIR, the draft EIR associated with, they have comments due on September 25th. So we're very, very close to being able to, know that we're working with a stable document and general plan. And then we've already got the contract with RRM, and we'll get our master plan then updated to be consistent with and in sync with the city's general plan. So we're right there.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, I had just one, I think I sent the comment to you, Jim, but maybe this would be more in the purview of the large event committee, but on page 217, item 3.2.3.1, when you're looking at large events and you consider various things, as I said, might be best just with the committee, but to make sure that, and not just large events, but everything that we're doing is consistent with our mission, philosophy, and vision. I mean, there may be a large event that has great cost benefit analysis, but it's totally contrary to what our district is supposed to be doing for the community.
Yeah. So I don't know if you have a specific example of what you're thinking in terms of,
giant, say that we have a giant gun show on one of our facilities, maybe that's not consistent with what our district is trying to do.
Okay. So you're saying under 3.2.3, the 3.2.3.1.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah. Under that section, this is the work of the committee. I think we have a meeting next week.
Yeah.
That will ensure that we're also not only focusing on the cost benefit, but also the very nature of the event or activity itself.
Yeah. Okay.
So could you repeat what we were looking at again? 3 point what?
It's in red, 3.2.3.1 starts when considering.
On page 217.
Oh, there it is. It's this, okay, the crossed out.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That was the
Okay.
one.
Yeah.
I have a comment on that. Aren't we making sure though that there's a nonprofit involved? Right? So that that's the community benefit is the idea of it, is that then the money is donated back to the community.
So it is rare, but we have had for-profits go through a robust approval process. So we have a rate for for-profits. So nonprofits get a very favorable rate from the district. It makes it really cheap. And because of that low rate, the organizations that do stuff on our property then often can donate money back into the community. And so those are your typical service clubs like, the Kiwanis and the Rotaries, et cetera. But we have had professional promoters come, Blue Moon, I believe, or yeah. So this was the one that ended up doing a concert, Neil Diamond concert or somebody in Westlake Village, and it had all sorts of issues. So there are for-profits that say, hey, I don't mind, we'll pay $50,000 to be here for a day or whatever the big money might be, but yeah, it might just be, typically it would be a large concert or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But it's a lot of money and there's a lot of hurdles to do an event like that because of the disruption to the community. So they're very few and far between.
Okay.
But as a policy, we're limited to very specific, by policy, we're limited to, I can't remember, 4 large events,
Yeah.
large events per year. And that's because of, before maybe some of you were on the board, we did have kind of a regular routine concern from neighbors of Conejo Creek North and South regarding the number and intensity of some of the large events. So they're like 4 a year. With they, meaning us, we said 4 a year. Let's self cap it. And we've kind of got the pattern right now.
Right, and all 4 of those donate to the community through some sort of nonprofit. We don't have any, yeah, right, because we don't have any large events that don't donate. So that's why I was kind of
Right,
confused by that. So
right.
I was like, I thought you had to, but I see that you could possibly, but we don't. Got it.
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that at least gets included in the discussion, Jim. So,
Absolutely.
all right, if there are no other questions or comments on this item, we'll move along to item 9C. MRCA Authority Final Budget Fiscal Year 23-24. Are we going?
We didn't have a vote on this.
Oh, I'm sorry. We do need action on this, don't we?
Yeah, I'd like to just know you guys are thumbs up. I'm feeling a warm fuzzy thumbs up, but I'd like to
Okay, well,
actually
we'll
hear it.
we'll formalize a warm fuzzy. So I will entertain a motion to approve the proposed updates. Director Cussworth, thank you.
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the proposed updates to the district's 5-year strategic plan.
Thank you.
I'll be happy to second that motion.
Director Lang, thank you very much. Any further discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. And thank you for reminding me that was an action item. Now we go on to 9C MRCA Final Budget Fiscal Year 23-24, and I bet we're going directly to Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Chair and Directors. I appreciate your enthusiasm to get to the MRCA budget.
Yes.
So first, I'm going to open with my correction for the evening. So on your staff report, it references that the Conservancy has already approved it. Their August meeting was canceled due to the tropical storm. So that did not happen. Instead, the Conservancy is going to be hearing it on Monday. So that's my correction for the evening. But just going over that arrangement. So all members of the Joint Powers Authority have to approve this budget. So it has been heard by Rancho Simi. It was presented to the MRCA board yesterday. Tonight it's before you, and Monday it'll be at the Conservancy. So that's the strategy. And then we'll have a budget ready to go for the MRCA. So what I was thinking I'll do is I'll kind of walk you through how it's set up so I can kind of walk you through the pages. So I'll start with page 229 in your packet. This is kind of the big high level overview of the budget. So you've got all the budgeted inflows at about 95 million and the budgeted outflows about 95 million. Now I want to say those numbers are big, and that's because there are a lot of potential acquisitions that are in there that have big numbers. So a lot of that are big one-time projects, and that's completely dependent on project timing. So that might get carried over to next year if they don't happen in this year, but we want to make sure we budget it. So if a seller is willing to sell, we can do it right away. So that's the first page, high level. The next page is the revenues. So I brought this to you in June for the preliminary. So I'm only going to focus on kind of the changes from the preliminary budget. Some of the ongoing issues are a lot of the revenue for MRCA is from filming. So they are being impacted by the writer strike. And we also had some large state appropriations in the budget that have increased the grants from the Conservancy and other grants. Those are marked in the little note sections. A lot of that is for the Liberty Canyon Wildlife Crossing over the 101 freeway, as well as the Poe Ranch acquisition in Simi Valley. So those are two of the big things that got added into this. The other thing that's kind of different from how CRPD does this is you'll see there's a salary savings offset. How that works is we budget for a full year of all of like a full-time position is budgeted for the full year. However, the MRCA has 21 vacancies today. So we know we're not going to use that whole allocation. And so that's our way of capturing that, is that line, that's the savings we anticipate from those vacancies. And finally, the last one is the use of reserves. The MRCA has about $10 million in reserves and about 4.2 million in a trust set aside for pension stabilization. The reserve that is in this budget is one that was actually intended to be used at $500,000 every single year. It was set up for that purpose, for capital asset improvements that we are unable to find alternate funding sources for. And this typically means employee housing. There are several rangers and fire staff that are in employee housing near open space. And this is to renovate and in some cases purchase new housing to make them accessible to those areas. So that is on the revenue side. Any questions on the revenue side, or I'll jump to the next page? Sure.
Just a quick question. I know the MRCA budget changes a little bit from year to year
Yes.
based on projects, based on grants, which is so much a part of the organization. Is there a base budget that you know is like pretty standard year to year, or is it so different that you can't even guarantee that? I guess because I'm looking at the revenue stream here, just wondering how much of that is consistent and how much of it is all grants and special allocations.
Yeah, it is super difficult to do that. We've actually had those conversations when we've wanted to split the budget, similar to CRPD, how we have our operating budget and our
Right,
capital,
right.
where we could split it. And it's extraordinarily difficult because so many of the grants, especially from the county, are for maintenance and servicing that is operational. And it makes it very difficult to separate those two. But I would guess I'd put like 40 million is in the range of operating, and then the rest is acquisitions and capital. That would be a typical clip. But those acquisitions can spike stuff like crazy. Last year we had $61 million for an acquisition. So it can really go.
Okay, I can't imagine it could be any more difficult than it is with 200 line items that you have here. So
Yeah. I appreciate you noticing.
yes.
Anything else on the revenues? I'll go to expenses. All right, so page 231, we've got the expenses for you. Again, the notes highlight the substantial changes from the preliminary budget. The salaries and benefits increase, it's about a 7.7% increase from last year's approved budget. This includes a 5% COLA for staff and assumed 10% increase in the medical costs, as well as a couple new positions due to a large amount of fire resiliency and hardening projects that they're taking on. What else did I want to move? I already mentioned the Poe Ranch acquisition in the increase and the Liberty Canyon one. So then you can go to the rest of the packet is those 200 different projects and tasks. Most of these are their own individual funding sources. And if you remember my lovely Death Star with all the different paint, so we have 200 colors of paint this year that we're making this work. And I can't promise that I know every detail for all 200, but if you have any questions on them, I might know. So I'm happy to answer that. The other thing I wanted to just mention, I mentioned the reserve funds and that we have 10 million, but we also got the new CalPERS report for the pension liability for MRCA. And so between their pension stabilization reserve and their trust, they are 93% funded. And the other thing is, because so many of the revenues for MRCA do fluctuate, like with filming and call outs for fire response, that 10 million in reserves is set aside so that if they did need to tap into that to cover a large revenue offset, that is still available. So we didn't need to tap into any of those reserves to make this balance. And with that, I'm available for any more questions.
Any questions? Yes, Director Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did have another follow. You did specifically mention the additional staff for wildfire resiliency or related to that. And I noticed there's, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 line items that were reflecting of that, vegetation management, different things. Do you see this as something that's okay, this year we'll take care, we're done, or is this now going to be a year after year annual effort?
So half and half, I'm going to say. So a portion of it is going to be a year over year effort that needs to be maintained. But a lot of this is actually purchasing the equipment that needs to be, that can be held and used for several years, or hardening of park facilities. And so those wouldn't be, that there might need maintenance and eventual replacement, but not at the same level. The other part of that is that wildfire resiliency money from the state has a hard spend by deadline for 2 years. So that's why a lot of it's going to go to those one-time big expenses where we'll rely on more of the bonds and the more general fund to handle that annual need that's going to continue.
Okay, and then just with, since you mentioned the state there, with the state budget process, you see that stabilize, or is this still subject to changes as far as the MRCA budget, whether you approve this or not? With the state contribution, that do you see that potentially changing even yet?
This year, I doubt dramatic changes for the MRCA. At least I know the projects that have been in the budget line items are long-time negotiated projects, and the legislators are very involved in those.
Okay.
But every year is a different situation with the legislature, so I won't pretend to predict in the future.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other, Director Lang?
Yeah, little piggyback. I would say it's fire resiliency is going to become more and more common in all.
Oh,
of
sure.
Yeah, just from the information I've seen, plus one of the breakout sessions I attended at the conference kind of talked about it, and it surprised me.
Okay. I'm just, looking at those numbers. First of all, different level of numbers from what we're dealing with here at the CRPD. And it seems, this is the way MRCA has been doing it for years, but you have line items that are millions of dollars, and you have other line items that are 900 and some dollars. And that, budgeting to that level of detail is certainly different. So kudos to you getting all that taken care of.
Thank you.
There are no other questions or comments. We do need to approve the staff recommendation. You're not going to approve the
No,
staff
I'd rather
recommendation?
somebody else.
Okay, Director Cussworth.
So I recommend the Recreation and Conservation Authority.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Let's see, item 9D, transfer of salaries and benefits. Is this yours again?
It is indeed. Thank you again.
Oh, this is your night.
This is my night. So as you are all, I'm sure, very aware, every year for several years now, I actually should find out when we started doing this, the annual salaries and benefit savings, meaning if we budgeted money for salaries and benefits at the end of the year, if we didn't use it, we set it aside to address our pension obligations. So as that process has built up over time, our pension and retiree liability funding went over 100%. I think we're at 105% last time we did this. With the new CalPERS, sorry, I've got to back up. So the reserve policy indicates that once we get over that percentage, we no longer do that automatic transfer of those savings. Instead, I come to you and suggest what I think we should do with that. So this is me coming to you and suggesting what I think we should do with that salaries and benefits savings. So in this case, we did just receive the CalPERS report for our pension liability. And because of that poor market performance for fiscal year 21-22, our pension funding and retiree funding dropped from 105% down to 98%. And it just so happens that by transferring this into our pension stabilization reserve, it would bring our funding back up to 100. So that's why I'm here recommending that that's what we do. We typically do it every year. It's a common practice, and it gets us back to 100%. And so I'm available for any questions you might have.
Do we have any questions on this item? Director Nichols?
I do have a question. It's just ancillary in nature. It's has to do with the last page of your report, page 248 in our packet item. And this is regarding the capital facilities and property acquisition reserve, as we talked about reserves. This is actually more important to me when we still had item 9A on the budget, on the agenda, but nonetheless, still want to ask the question.
Mhm.
With the stated ideal target balance of $182.5 million. Not that we need this tonight, but could it be possible to separate years 1 through 10 and then year X? So we can actually have a little clarity on those items that we maybe a little more specifically identified and those that are perhaps on a larger wish list. So we can have a better idea of what that dollar amount is in those two different categories.
So the 53 million, I believe, is the year X total. Yeah. So at that bottom section where it says total 182, if you go up 4 lines, it says CIP year X total. And so that's the 53 million.
Okay,
And so the year 1 through 10 is kind of what we've already kind of scheduled with our existing funds and expected funds to be able to.
so
find
that,
those
that would
funds
be
for.
182.5 minus 53 would be years 1 through 10.
I believe so, but I'll wait for Andrew to confirm. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, just, I think just maybe make that a regular practice on what those two distinguishing areas are. 'Cause-
Absolutely. And I can include the year 1 through 10 total in there
Yeah.
next time too.
'cause
Okay,
I know it's fluid, but at least it gives us a little better perspective.
sure.
And I think we might be needing that in the coming months.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the staff recommendation. Director Nichols.
So moved.
And a second, Director Lang. Any further discussion or comments or questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Item 9E, authorized purchase of HVAC equipment. Are we going directly to,
Yes, sir.
okay, so take it away.
Thank you, Chair Huffer. As you approve, as the board approved back in June, capital work is getting going. We're looking at doing some projects at Chumash Museum, one of which is replacing the HVAC system. So we're not completely gutting the system. Obviously, there's ductwork and things in place. However, the major components of that system are going to be removed and replaced, bringing it up to current code, current kind of maintenance standards and such. And so based on our purchasing policy, we do, the general manager has authority up to 60,000. Well, we ticked over 60,000 when we were looking at proposals for this, and we received several proposals for the work. And so we took the approach per the purchasing policy to be able to review these informal bid proposals. And so we're making the recommendation with Temp Tech at that $68,092 to do the work. And they've done work with us over the years. Our maintenance staff's familiar with their staff. We've been really happy with the service that they've provided. They've done work at the Chumash Museum over the years, as well as they've done work at, I believe, Thousand Oaks, Dos Piantos, and Borchard Community Centers. So it's definitely a vendor that we appreciate working with, and they have really good warranties, really good experience with their staff, and for being familiar with our facilities as well. So with that, I'm available for questions.
Any questions for Andrew? Yes, Director Lang.
Yes, as some of you may recall, CRPD received the Chumash Indian Museum Center from the county. So is this the air conditioning unit, et cetera, heating air conditioning unit that came originally when we got the building?
So this system is about 30 years old. We've done some repairs to it over the years, so some components are newer than that. But yes, it is the original system that was with the building. So.
Yeah, no, definitely time.
Any other questions? Director Nichols.
You mentioned in your report other proposals, and then you just mentioned that there was informal bid process. Could you explain what that informal bid process is and how many proposals you actually received?
Sure. So we received 3, and that's per. Our goal is to get a minimum of 3 through the process. Sometimes it's a little tricky just to get contractors on site and to get folks to get a number, right? And so we reviewed that. The process basically was we had our maintenance staff walk the property, explain the scope of work, like for like, took a look at the proposals. And we balanced that with the experience that we have with them, as well as like warranties. And obviously cost comes into play there as well. But all the three proposals were within a similar range as far as pricing goes. However, we feel that Tech offers the best service, since we, again, being familiar, knowing the work that they do, and they actually went into a bit more detail than some of the other proposals. And so again, the nice part about the proposal process and getting that bid or proposal, informal bid or proposal, is just we can be able to kind of control who we are working with, versus just pulling the lowest bid and being able to just have to do the work with them depending on the specifics of the work, right? So especially, and I mentioned the report, but working with the Chumash Museum with their schedule and things like that, it's a little bit trickier with school sessions starting up and such. So.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the staff recommendation. Director Lang,
It's my pleasure to recommend that we authorize the purchase of the HVAC equipment and give the contract to Tech Corp. In the amount of $68,092.
thank you. Can I get a second?
Second that. Yeah. second.
Director Nichols,
Mhm.
thank you. Any further questions, comments, or discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Item 10, reports and announcements. We have 6 different reports and announcements. Anybody have any questions or comments on items A through F? Director Nichols.
Yes, I did have one question. Thank you. There was a line item on the water, there was no annual facility release. That a facility or multiple facilities?
That's the pools for the summer. Right, the 2 pools, the high school pools. We pay 25% of any maintenance and work that's done on the pools for Thousand Oaks and Newberry Park throughout the year. So every year we get billed from the school district at the end of July, and we pay the bill in August.
Okay, so that's what's considered the lease,
Yeah.
is just that
Yeah.
portion of, okay.
It's our 25% of the pools.
Okay.
That's what gives us the pools in the summer to use.
Yes, okay, all right, thank you. That was it, thank you.
Any further questions or comments? If not, we'll move along to item 11, department reports. Parks Division, Andrew.
I'll be brief. We've again, with the approved capital plan for this past June, we're starting to get going on more projects. A couple playgrounds are in the works, as well as Wildflower was open last week. So it seems like folks are enjoying that. We have a Russell playground underway right now. I think they've been there for about 2 weeks now. So we're hoping in the next few weeks we'll be making some good progress there, as well as at Conejo Community Center. We've done some renovations on the flooring and the restrooms, and it seems like the patrons, as well at the last concert, and enjoyed the work that we've done, cleaned up the aging facility for a few more years for us to keep going. So with that, I'm available for questions.
Any questions for Andrew? No, moving along to Recreation Division. We haven't heard from you yet tonight.
I know. Thank you, Chair Huffer, members of the board. Not a lot. Everything's in your packet nowadays, you guys. So, I mean, summer ended. Summer was great. Staff did a great job. We had enough staff during the summer, which was awesome. School has now officially started. We are pretty staffed up for that. Staff are doing a great job. I think I have to give kudos or shouts out to our marketing department, which I always say marketing department, but it's 2 people. And they are doing some amazing work at just keeping us connected with the community, looking at meeting some needs for our websites that will meet ADA, and they are doing a revamp on our program guide. So they're going to be coming and being a presenter at one of our meetings in November. And I think they're going to have a lot of really cool stuff to tell you what they've been doing for the last year. So I'm just really proud, and I'm so lucky that we got Shar and Juan on our team. And right now we do have an intern that's helping us out, and he's helping us with some stuff on the back end of our website so that people that have disabilities and use certain special keyboards will be able to have access to what's on our website. So it's a work in progress, but they're doing some really cool stuff. So to make us as accessible to all. So with that, I'm available for questions.
Do we have any questions for Rochelle? Yes.
This is a general question, but is there any way that we have like a report that reflects kind of our community giving through the discounted, like the dollar amounts of the discounted programs we give, the free programs we do? Is there any sort of, I don't know, I just think that that would be, for the public, is always good for them to see like how much we are giving back.
So good question. So we do it through Play Conejo. And those folks who donated to us in the last year just got a thank you from us, and we will be starting some marketing and some asks and some promotional stuff to inform people that we have emails on and through social media in the month of October about Play Conejo and how we do financial assistance and stuff like that. So no official like report out other than to the Play Conejo board, because they fund the financial assistance. If that's what you're specifically asking for. If you're looking for like we have some programs that break even, or maybe we lose some money, or we do a lot of stuff at the Global Center at no cost or for $5. We have haunted trails, it's $5. Haunted trail, my staff will get mad at me if I add an S. But it's like $5 for the trail, but the whole event is free. So there's a lot of free district-wide activities that we do that there's obviously costs to it.
Right.
But I don't have a report. Not that I couldn't put one together, but
I think that would be important for the community to see how much CRPD does for that we take on the expense for, especially moving forward in the next few months, so that we can have that information when we're talking to people about, our budget and things that we are putting forth, because we are probably one of the largest community donors for all ages within the community versus just certain categories, like school district obviously helps out kids, but we're ranging from seniors all the way down. So I think that type of information will be important for us moving forward.
good thing I
Catch
have
my
that
drift.
analyst.
Yeah, and I mean, in a very gross way, you could look at the total budget for rec staff and subtract what our revenue is on the rec side. And I think you would say, okay, we spend 2 million, 3 million a year, 2.5 million a year
Right.
in rec staff to do things that we don't get the revenue back on. Like if you just in a gross
Mhm.
Yeah.
broad budget. way.
Plus
So,
overhead.
yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't include all the overhead.
Yeah, no, I think that that information is important for the community to understand how much we are giving back. If as we're having conversations in the community, it would be helpful for me to have this information to point out how wonderful we are. So, yes, those conversations. Thank you.
Any other questions for Rochelle? If not, we'll move along to management services. Ms. Smith, we've heard from you all night. Anything more to add?
Actually, yes, and I'm sorry. I'll leave some of the legislative stuff to our general manager, but I do want to note for you, and Director Nichols was on the SCARPD Legislative Committee meeting this morning, so he's already heard all of this, but AB 1484 is a bill that it looks like it's going to be going through for potential signature by the governor. This would require that all temporary employees of public agencies are members of the union for that public entity. It doesn't mean that they have the same benefits or anything like that, but it does require, the first initial impact of this will be that within 5 days of every temporary employee that is hired, we will need to provide them with a lot of different information about the union, about their wage rates, their job description, how long they anticipate employment, their procedures if they want to apply for a position with us. It's a lot of probably paperwork for your typical lifeguard that we're going to be giving within those first 5 days. And then there'll be a member of the union. We would see what the union would do with that. So we are following that because there's going to be a lot of implications if that goes forward. So I just wanted to flag that for you. And I'm available for questions.
Any questions? Director Cussworth?
Are they required to pay union dues?
Not because of this bill, but the expected implication would be that if the union were to decide to advocate to bargain on behalf of them, then they would start requesting that type of agreement with them. But it would be, that's up to the union to work through that. That's not part of this bill to immediately do that.
So they would just be part of the union while they're working temporarily.
Yes.
So is there any advantage to these employees to be part of a union while they're working temporarily?
So
I mean, I'm not getting the whole reasoning for this.
right. So it's for protections for all workers, and the benefits that would go to the employees would be that the ones that are emphasized is that they're getting the information that would be required for them to secure a permanent job if they were to want it. And so it's putting the burden on the public employee to provide that information within the first 5 days and to give them the full notice of when we no longer expect to have you working for us. So they can plan their finances and they can seek a permanent position with you via these procedures if they want to. Also, if they've been working for the public entity for 2 months, then they are able to use the same grievance process and disciplinary process that is in the MOU. So it gives them that type of protection, but those are the initial benefits of it. And anything beyond that would be something that's specific to the union and how they work with those employees.
Do we have more than one union at CRPD, or is it just one union that you're working with?
Just one.
Okay, thank you.
On the same topic, obviously there'd be a massive amount of red tape and paperwork and stuff that all of you would have to go through.
Yes.
Would it also have any impact on our salary expenses, or is that not a big issue?
Not initially, but if there were subsequent bargaining that resulted in increases or increased benefits or something like that, then yes, but I wouldn't predict what those are. It's not part of the bill.
Okay, and if it just came out, do you, and maybe Doug can answer this better, but is the California Association planning on taking a position on this?
Yes, we're opposed to it.
Oh, good.
Already taken a position. And for those reasons, I mean, you can imagine, in fact, one of our lobbyists said, I've got a 16-year-old who does lifeguarding. He has no clue what this is about. How do we expect a 16-year-old to even know what this is about, let alone trying to, sit them down and explain it to us? They don't know, they don't care. But that aside, yeah, we are taking a strong opposed. In fact, the only advantage we were able to gain is rather than having a 30-day cutoff, we got it to a 60-day cutoff. So you have, that person, if you don't like the way they work, they're out of here. Rather than just a 30-day, they got 60 days. Well, there's a lot of our staff who maybe don't even work 60 days, but nonetheless, there are other agencies that deal with that. But to further the conversation, there are actually a package of, I think, 3 bills, I think there were, that are kind of along the same line of employment related. And what our lobbyists are doing is they're going to be taking the next step and bringing all 3 of these together to the legislators that they're working with and saying, hey, if you look at each one in a silo, you can see what you're accomplishing. If all 3 of these get passed, here are all the consequences that will now be affecting local agencies. It's more than what you realize. So yes, and we're opposed to all of them, if I remember right. but yeah, they're definitely very actively engaged in that process and are not taking it for, just saying, oh, well, this is probably going to be passing. No, they're going to the next level and knocking on doors and having meetings and saying, hey, look, this is what's going to happen if you do this. And one of our peers in Hayward was saying, if this goes forward, we may end up with all contract employees because we can't deal with this type of, complications and the consequences. We're going to end up with just contracting with everybody. So we gave a lot of good input on, things about, how this affects the local districts and what some of those unintended consequences are. And Alyssa, our lobbyist, said she had 3 pages of notes for all the comments that we took that she's going to put together and continue to move this forward in our effort to oppose it.
Good. Well, thank you for all the work you put in on this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
great. Okay, any other questions for Ms. Smith? No, we'll move along to our general manager.
Thanks, Chair Huffer, members of the board. I'll start with the lighter stuff and get to the heavier stuff. So in the end of July, it's been a while since we met, but I just personally wanted to say I went to the Teen Summer Musical I've been here 20 years. I've probably been to 15 of the 20 or something, but man, they're good. Like the kids are amazing. The young people are just amazing. The staff are spectacular in terms of what they're able to do. To think that show starts, sometime just before school gets out and happens like in the middle of the summer. It's amazing. And I will say, if they did Phantom and they had a live all student orchestra that supported the musical. So I will confess to they made me cry probably 3 or 4 times. Like, this is like so good. So anyway, Ian and staff that work in cultural, it was just amazing, as the Teen Summer Musicals always are. So shout out. In August, I want to shout out for Aline and some of the staff from other management services and rec went to Hollywood Storage, where we have had boxes of documents, rows and rows, that have been there for years and years. And we had our records retention policy in hand, and we went through and put big red X's on the boxes that just didn't need to be there anymore. So I don't know, I think we counted 140 bankers boxes or something, and I think we put the red X on maybe 100 of the 140.
Wow.
So it was a purging summer, and we actually have another storage facility, and I think what we'll do is be able to combine the two into one. So that'll be nice. One's MRCA, one's CRPD, and I think we can save a little bit of money to combine the two. Then just last week, and I'll let the board members talk about it, I had a great time and learned a lot. Good conversations with people at the CSDA conference. Then kind of getting into little more gossipy things. If you had not yet heard, Jim and Lisa Rule have sold the Acorn newspapers. So by rumor now, Becca confirmed it, but by rumor, they told the staff this morning, and she said they're keeping all the staff. Maybe one person out of, I think, a staff of 30 or something was let go. But the paper that bought them is, I think, called the Times, not the LA Times, but something Times out of Tucson, maybe. And I am told, I'm passing on rumors now because I didn't verify any of this, but that they they own the VC Reporter. So if you've ever looked at the VC Reporter, I think they're a publication owned by this company that bought the Acorn newspapers. So it'll be interesting to see how and whether that changes their coverage of local news, whether they keep all 5 different local publications or do something different. But you've probably been hearing in the news just the kind of the demise of local newspapers over the past decade. So I hope this does not bode ill for our friends at the Acorn and for what they do, because I think they do a really important job of covering the community. So we'll see how that unfolds. And then kind of the biggie is obviously we pulled 9A and that agenda item on the Quimby fees. And so my goal is to bring at the next board meeting some kind of a notion on how we would have additional information to exchange with the stakeholders involved and incorporate board member involvement and do that in a way that complies with the Brown Act or the Maddie Act, the kind of the legal meeting requirements. So right now I'm thinking an ad hoc committee focusing on just Quimby, the programmatic Quimby and the park impact fee issues. So put your thinking caps on if you're a board member that might be interested in that, and Chuck will have the hard task of trying to help us all navigate to who those two would be, and then invite the stakeholders to kind of sit down and express, you know, what their thoughts are. And an exchange, it's two-way exchange. So we get to the opportunity to better convey where CRPD is. So that I am hoping we can do that throughout fall, and then readdress, you know, what those reports are trying to do. And if there's better ideas, let's put all the best ideas on the table, but kind of address that, you know, maybe within the next 90 days or so. So that's the goal. I'll bring something back for us to look at next week. But again, apologies for the drama, not having done maybe as much outreach as I probably should. So inelegant kickoff to it. I will just share my thinking was to get you guys that information and then get it within minutes, literally, because it's all electronic communication. Hey, CRPD board, here's our agenda, and then share that with who I believed would be the most affected. And so kind of everyone had the info all at the same time, but apparently, you know, there was a strong desire to have more an opportunity to kind of look at what it was before it came out, but we'll get to that. So again, I'll bring something back at the next meeting about how we chart a path forward. So again, apologies for the drama. I was on the phone for, I don't know, 12 out of the last 18 hours. A lot of phone calls.
Maybe you should have stayed up in the wilds.
So yeah, with that, I'm available for any questions.
Questions for our general manager? No. All right. Well, we will move along to director's reports and follow-up reports on meetings, conferences attended. I know we had several people attending conferences, so I'm going to start with Director Nichols down on this side.
Okay, thank you, sir. I was at 3 or 4 concerts. I'm trying to remember all these things from a month and a half ago or whenever it was. Met with the general manager a couple of times, attended the CARPD conference committee, legislative committee and board of directors. Let's see, went to the CSDA conference, Dos Vientos Park opening, lots of fun stuff. I think I'll just leave it at that. I was trying to make some notes, trying to make sure I got the highlights of it, but those are the different activities. And we had a family vacation in there too, so that was good.
Director Cussworth.
So I wasn't remembering anything I did, so I wrote down a lot of the things that, well, no, I wrote down all these things that Director Nichols went to, and I went to a lot of those things. And I don't know if I reported on Phantom, but I was again blown away. So thank you for talking about that. I'm just really delighted that we have a cultural arts department that can continue bringing so much good cultural activities to our community. And you know, the concerts, all the people that come to our concerts, it's a wonderful benefit. The one thing that I went to that nobody else went to is I again met with the 3 museum heads, Wyatt McCrae, Neil Scribner, and Barbara Tejada. We all got together. We toured the Chumash Museum. They all talked, kind of shared stories, you know, pros and cons. And it was a delightful meeting. It's my favorite of the year. And I was at the naming committee with Mr. Friedel and Director Buss. And as the rest of you talked, I may remember some of the other things that I did. For us not having any meetings in August, it seemed like I was very busy. So, and also the conference, that was excellent. Always, I'm always very inspired at the conferences that we go to. So thank you for that.
And you have an event coming up in the next week or so?
Oh, well, it is at the Global Center. So it is somewhat of a CRPD event in that I will be talking about the history of Thousand Oaks, called From Late Bloomer to Superstar. So I've worked quite a bit on this presentation. I think it's a very solid presentation, and Bill Ackerman, who is our director for Voices of Old Conejo, will be presenting portrayals of 5 different men, which should be entertaining just in itself. So he's a great actor, and I think he'll do a good job. So I hope that if you have time that you can attend that, I guarantee you will learn something about our community.
Are tickets still available?
I assume. I'm not selling tickets. I hope so. I assume that they are. So you'd have to go to the Global Center to find out. But
Okay, all right.
yes.
Director Nichols, you had something to add?
Yes, I just forgot that I did attend the Conejo Valley Historical Society Grand Union Hotel Fiesta and was entertained there by Rochelle and Dave Kellis. So we had a nice meal and evening together there. So thank you.
And I did not, I would normally go to that, but I was out of town. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Yes.
Most people I talked to did.
It's very nice.
All right, Director Buss.
Okay, so I did several ad hoc committee meetings consisting of the naming one with Director Cussworth. Then there was the finance and review one with Chair Huffer, from the comfort of my balcony overlooking the Lake Tulloch, and my friends not knowing I was on an actual interactive meeting and walking by talking constantly. Yeah, very professional of me. And then we also had the meeting for the Conejo Youth and Family in August. And so if you are aware of anyone who have school-age children, we are trying to promote walking, biking, or scootering to school. And that's an effort to help continue having crossing guards throughout the community at different locations. So they need to beef up the kids going to school in order to continue to keep some of those locations. So I believe we're posting it on our social media and what have you, but there's not a lot for really that we can do directly, obviously, with kids. So yeah, those were the 3 meetings I went to. Met with Jim, as we all did, I think. And and the VCSDA meeting, that was my first one going to one of those. That was interesting to learn about those. And that was it. That's all I got for you. Oh, wait, I have one more. Sorry.
What are you learning from George?
I am learning from George. So my brother reported to me, as many of you may know, I did not change my name when I got married. And so my niece tried out for a play and they thought it may be one of my daughters. So he said she was treated very well. And he then informed them that is not my daughter and that is my niece, but she did get a part in the play. And so I'm very excited to go and see her. So I just thought that was really nice of staff to make her feel very welcomed. Thank you.
Director Lang.
Thank you, Chair Huffer. Just to piggyback on your comment about walking to school, et cetera. My grandson just yesterday competed in what they call walk and roll to school. No cars supposedly are allowed to take their children to school. My grandson was ridden to school on the back of my son's bike, and they give prizes to all the kids, some little prize, just for participating in that program to, promote exercise and promote safety, et cetera, et cetera. So I had not heard of it prior to our grandson, and then hearing you talking about it, yeah, kind of neat. Well, I guess I could say MRCA, Conservancy, meeting with our general manager, just many positive activities, and it is really gratifying to know that, especially the MRCA, to know what we're accomplishing for our millions of people here. You know, we have property in Antelope Valley and Conejo, or Ventura County, LA County, Orange County. It's just amazing. And to know that you as part of our CRPD, JPA, contribute to the accomplishments of MRCA. So be proud of our associations and what we accomplish. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. I debated whether I should feel guilty or not guilty about missing a fair number of events in the last month or so, because I did an in-depth study of the recreational facilities in Seattle and environs, and then a follow-up study with the recreation facilities in Portland and area. I was reminded in Portland, my sister happens to live right on the Willamette River, and did some kayaking, and I think we all got the email from some vendor who wanted to sell us kayaking services or something like that. I wasn't quite sure where we're going to use those, but great thing. There you go. There you go. So I missed the teen musical, which I've tried to get to every year, which sounded really great. I missed one of the movies at the McRae Center. I missed one of the concerts. Thank you for filling in for one of the concerts, George. I did, I think most of us were at the ribbon cutting for Dos Vientos, which was a lot of fun. It was great that the summer camps were there, and we must have had 75 or 100 kids climbing on all the structures there where we got the pictures. So that was a lot of fun. And I happened to notice on the check register, Melissa, that it's not cheap to buy churros, is it? Particularly when you're serving with ice cream. I mean, those kids were.
Those were like,
It's a great deal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely a great deal. Okay. So anyway, did the ribbon cutting, and then that was immediately followed by my meeting with Mr. Friedel, and we went on a bit of a longish hike, and I'm not sure at the end whether I looked worse or Max looked worse, but we were both dragging a little bit, but it was good. I got a chance to see, what is it, 2 lakes or 2 ponds or
Yeah, twin ponds. And
twin ponds.
those, yeah.
Hadn't seen that before. So enjoyed the hike and enjoyed the chat. And I hope Max recovered. So with that, there are no other meetings or reports. Item 12, request for status reports and items for subsequent agendas. Yes, Director Nichols.
Yeah, this is not an additional one, but perhaps just a couple comments regarding what we expect to see in the coming report for the Quimby fee. I mentioned a couple of these things already to our general manager, but I think to have an outline of the process expected to take place, it would be important, just based on the number of conversations I've had over the last couple of days and the outreach. But just as important as to why we're going through the process. To make sure that that's clearly, which I bring up the budget issues. And if you look at the capital improvement needs that we have, and then our budget allocation for that, you can see how long it's going to take to get those things done. And then it's just going to add to it. So I think to clearly put that up front as to why this is even necessary to consider it, to have that there. And then also some of the history that we've had with the Quimby fee, what the legislation allows, and then also what the history has been as to the actual assessment of that and collection of that. And then I guess kind of as a sideline with ACA 1 kind of moving forward, that's the Assembly Constitutional Amendment, Bill number 1, where it's going to be reducing or proposed to reduce the passage of proposals from 67% or 2/3 majority to a 55% majority. It did pass the Assembly yesterday, and now it moves on to the Senate, and it looks like it's kind of heading that direction. And a lot of agencies are wondering, well, do we wait for that to be approved and then we can put these measures forward? to kind of include that as part of the discussion is options, what are some of the options available? Including citizen initiatives, say, hey, if people want to go, I think just kind of paint a little bit broader picture as to the current status of the park district, the desires of the community, and some of the options available, and how the Quimby fee fits into that. So I think just to have a little broader picture of what that is, just again, based on some of the questions and inputs that I've been asked or received over the last few days as a result of this, which I think, you say apologizing for the drama. I think what's the drama part is people don't expect drama from the park district. And except when they're in the theater, not at the board meetings. And so I think it's kind of elevated the awareness. So I think, okay, let's capture that moment of the awareness and fill in all the blanks that they don't even know are blank. And just, let's get the whole story out there. So no apologies needed. I think it's just a matter of, learning what the sensitive nature is of these types of things, which we kind of knew in advance. But it's got a lot of people's attention, and I say, okay, it's got my attention too. Let's get some answers so we know where we go. But thank you for, I know you've heard some of this from me already, but thank you for your discernment and wisdom and how we move this forward, and look forward to what you have for us next time.
And just to sort of piggyback on that, and I mentioned this to Jim when we spoke this morning, but all the various potential sources of revenues for the district. And I had at least one person who commented to me, says, well, with all this new building going on, you're gonna have millions of dollars of additional property tax revenues that are coming, and probably not quite to that level, but that's certainly one of the additional things that has to be looked at. So I know Jim did not even back in the napkin calculation, but I think he said, what, if we added $1 billion of property value in the community, that'd give us what, 600,000. So that's not going to build a whole lot, maybe one playground. So
A small one.
yeah. Anyway, anything else for subsequent agendas?
No, but
Director Buss, you were going to.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, that for myself, being on the finance and the revenue committee, to be able, and not having been on the board when you guys did the revenue measure. I went to some of the committee stakeholder meetings, but it would be really important for me to be able to see, with Quimby fees the way they are now, what are the projections based on the units that have been approved by city council? And then what would it increase to if we did change? And then also to see the non-resident price per square foot impact on the commercial. I think having those things all separated out, plus then being able to see, so if we did go after the revenue measure, what would that total bring in? Just because I wasn't here then. So having all those numbers to be able to see all of the revenue sources at once, rather than seeing one part of it, was difficult when you don't see the whole picture of. And I think I agree. I think it's really important that the community sees. That's why I want to also show them that we are one of the largest suppliers of, or whatever you want to call it, but we are one of the largest contributors to the community for especially low income people from all ages. And I think that the community doesn't realize that as much. I've noticed that in all charity work that I've done, that it's really important to get those numbers out there and to kind of hammer them on people, so that they see why it's so important to continue to fund us and move forward. Plus the fact that, look, we're either going to have like really cool retro hip community centers, or we can have, which we might need to go back to that style. Or, what does the community want? Do they want to be able to offer more programs and to be able to build something as beautiful as the projections for the Conejo Community Center? So I think these are all great conversations, definitely meeting different people in the community, myself. And, but for me personally, need a broader picture of everything, so that when we are meeting with them, I can say, and have numbers to spout back at them, so they see our value, and that we can play nice in the sandbox too, but we're going to stand our ground.
Thank you. Director Lang, did you have something?
Well, it's an addendum to Rochelle's recreation. Approximately how many were at Monday's concert?
Oh, I actually don't know. I didn't ask Tim that question. So he said it was a really good turnout.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was.
so
Okay,
yeah, I can ask him and email you, but that opens up. I didn't say that Tim should get a big shout out also because he organizes and plans and gets all those bands and deals with setting them up and deals with their publicity people and what kind of food they want to eat and the sound people and all that good stuff. And so he really took the lead on that when Brenda left, and he's done a great job, and he's gotten some really good bands and stuff and sponsors too. Sponsorships are really important, or we can't it makes it harder on our budget to offer. So he did a great job with that. So
we have to report sometime as to how, when CRPD staff had booths, food booths, et cetera, versus our trucks now. And sometimes the Kiwanis would have a barbecue booth, et cetera.
Yeah, I know you miss our tri-tips, so.
I'm
Advantages of doing what we're doing versus what we did before.
okay. The pros on what we're doing, pros and cons for why we're doing what we're doing now compared to what we did before.
CRPD is saving from one versus the other.
Yeah, we lost money the other way and now we're not. So we needed a health permit the other way and now we do not. So, but yeah, I can put a little something together for you. Sure.
All right, well, that's more time we spent on item 12 than we ever have. I see no public here. Do we have anybody online waiting to? No? Oh, okay. All right. Well, with that, do we have a need for executive closed session?
No, we do not.
Oh, good man. All right, so we're good. We are going to adjourn this evening in memory of actually 3 people. Thank you, Aline, by the way, for putting this in large font so that I can read it. I printed out some stuff and I couldn't read it even with my glasses. So first couple, Bob and Patty Beery, both passed away on July 24th. Bob was involved in the creation and programming at the Thousand Oaks Performing Arts Center. He's president of the Civic Arts Plaza Foundation. The two of them love to travel. They co-sponsored, I don't think I ever got to him, but he co-sponsored the National Geographic Society's Explorers Program. Supported other organizations like the Historical Society, Stagecoach Inn, Hospice, the Conejo, Habitat for Humanity. Is president of the Thousand Oaks Rotary Club. Cheers. And loved attending Rotary Club conventions in other countries. Survived by 4 children and numerous grandchildren and great-grandchildren. So that's Bob and Patty Beery. And a month or so ago, I believe Eloise passed away. Eloise Cohen, early August, died at the age of 73. She was the wife of someone most of us probably know pretty well, Chuck Cohen. They moved to Thousand Oaks in the early 60s. That's about the time you got here, wasn't it, George?
Yeah, they were a little before because her dad was president of CLU.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't realize that. I mean, I've known the Cohens a bit, but anyway, she graduated. She was an early graduate at Thousand Oaks High School in 67, supported the arts and education, member of the TO Arts Board, helped raise funds for the Performing Arts Center. Seems to be a theme there with all 3 of them. And said that she will always be grateful for her, we should always be grateful for her altruistic dedication to growing accessibility, inclusion, and providing opportunities in our community. And as George pointed out, she was the daughter, was he the first president?
Raymond, yeah. Raymond Olson.
Raymond Olson, president of Cal Lutheran. So we are going to adjourn tonight's meeting in memory of those 3 individuals.